they left them kids to burn the way that they did. And he keeps saying, oh, I want to be home for my son and my daughter. I am raising my grandson. Okay, 8 years old, he'll be 9 next month. That's not going to never see his mom again. And you got off as far as your time. You only got a few years for 3 bodies. 3 of them.
Picked him up. And the other part that gets me, I'm a forgiving person. Lord knows I am. I just can't forgive you. You came to my house. You came to my house. You embraced us. You was around, but you was only around to cover up what you did.
You kind of know how fast you were going. And it wasn't 50. How about trying to double that? On that curve. That's crazy. That's pure insanity on that curve.
And you know what else is crazy? What else is crazy is that he received just 4 years for taking 3 lives. But it's not only that makes this entire case nuts. You know, they only sentenced him to 30 days jail for that vehicle accident. 30 days for reckless driving and 6 months for illegal racing on a highway. Now, you see, the 4-year sentence that they ultimately ended up getting him on was for the home invasion that he was involved in with his brother when he tried to silence a witness that was going to tell authorities that he was the driver of the vehicle. Now, to me, this is absolute madness. You know, they didn't convict him on the home invasion. Connecticut has a minimum mandatory in their legislation of 10 years for the home invasion. They ended up doing plea deals. Now, there's no excuse, there's no reason to me in my mind that someone can kill 3 and then kidnap a man, or at least it's in so many words. We'll go through the exact details of the document at the end with a gun to silence him and still only get 4 years. He's just 2 years into that 4-year sentence. As a matter of fact, he was only technically sentenced on May 4th of 2023. Now we are going to hear from the victims, from the mothers, from the grandmothers, from those who have suffered through this to the end, and they are going to say profound things. And as they say this, look at this man's face. Look at the lack of empathy. Look at the lack of emotion. We're also going to see insanity, like this man applying to get a CDL license and only receiving words of encouragement from the parole board about that, which is nuts to me. But anyways, I'll unpack it with the details that we have at the end.
Good morning, Justin Douglas.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Justin Douglas.
Inmate number?
Oh, I'm sorry, 425-721. That's it.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Gustin Douglas, inmate number 425-721. Mr. Douglas is serving a sentence of 10 years execution suspended at 4 years with 5 years probation for interfering, resisting, illegal possession of a large capacity magazine, hearing a pistol without a permit, reckless endangerment first, tampering with the witness, reckless driving, illegal racing on highway, conspiracy to tamper with the witness. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of February 7th, 2025. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. Mr. Douglas has completed 2 voices, hospitality module, and PD. Douglas has outside clearance and is employed as janitor in the lobby. Utilizing some collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the low risk for recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin, Mr. Douglas.
Before you do, Mr. Douglas, we have your 3-page letter and we've read it.
So we prefer you not to read it again. Is there something that you want to say to us this morning?
I just want to say I'm not the same person I was when I got sentenced, and I got a different thought process, and I don't have a false perception on what a man is no more. And if I had a chance to get back in the community, I don't have any false perceptions on what a man is anymore. And if I had a chance to get back in the community, I would never make the same decisions again that led me to be in prison.
Great. Okay. Well, you will be back in the community because your end of sentence is November of next year. So even if you aren't granted today, you'll still finish your sentence and go out to 5 years of probation. So it's good to know that you have a commitment to living in a respectful, honorable manner as a man in the community.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to ask questions of you that we've prepared based on the documents that were available to us. And we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services, and you are not to speak during that part of the hearing. After we hear from the victims, then we will discuss your case and make our decision. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to begin with my colleague, Mr. Pohl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Douglas.
Good morning.
So this was a very big tragedy all the way around. And there was a lot of nonsense around the whole thing as well. Right? So what actually happened that day on Center Street?
On Center Street, I was driving, and my co-defendant was driving, and we both was speeding, and he hit a pole, and the car engulfed in flames. And then he got out of the car, and then he said that I asked him where everybody else was at, and then he said he don't know. And I said, what happened? He said I was going too fast. And then he laid on the ground, him and the passenger. So I didn't know if somebody was in the car or not. But I didn't leave the scene. I was there the whole time.
And I recognize that, and police report reflects that as well. Which way were you headed? Towards the center or towards East Catholic?
I was going up Center Street, going like towards, like if you driving from East Hartford towards Manchester, that's the way I was. Yeah.
So you took that curve.
Yep, I took the curve.
Yep.
And then after the car hit the pole, I went around the car, and then I turned around, and then I got out the car, and then I went over to that car.
So that curve, how fast were you going?
I honestly, I don't remember. Maybe like 50 miles an hour. Maybe I was going. I don't remember, honestly. I don't want to tell any lies. I don't remember. That was in 2018.
Well, if you don't want to tell any lie, how come you just said 50 miles an hour?
No, I didn't say 15. I said 50. 50.
No, that's what I said. 50.
Oh,
That's what I said was 50.
I said maybe 50 miles an hour.
But that's not what was said there. Right? That was not what was said by the people who you told to cover up what was going on in that whole piece, right? From my recollection and from some accident reconstruction and stuff, and from some comments that you made to some people, you kind of know how fast you were going. And it wasn't 50. How about trying to double that? On that curve. That's crazy. That's pure insanity on that curve.
Yeah, you're right.
and somebody hit that pole, and the person who hit the pole, speculation is that they were going 80.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to correct myself and say maybe 80, but I don't think it was 100. But you're right, and I apologize. I take full accountability for my mistake and my choice that I made that night. And I should have made a better choice and been a leader instead. Well, I was a leader because evidently they was only going as fast like that because I was like, that's how I drive, and everybody know that's how I drive, and I need to be more an example for the community instead of making poor choices, and I take full accountability for that. And I do apologize to the family, and I didn't get a chance to say it in court. That's why I said it in the letter. I'm sorry for everything that happened that night. And I didn't mean any harm. I just was trying to have a good time with my friends. It's not like those were my enemies. I would never have been with them, and if nothing was intentional. That's why I do apologize to the families and to the community for my choices. I'm really sorry.
You've taken some programs while you've been in, and one of those programs is Voices. What you have taken some programs while you've been in. One of those programs is Voices. Can you relate what you learned in Voices to what happened in this accident?
Yes. Me doing that, making a selfish decision like that, influencing people to drive their car fast, is and them crashing and me speeding, and we both were speeding, and their families having to have a tremendous loss like that, and me having a loss as well, because those friends I was close to and I held close to my heart, because I don't hang out with a lot of people. Those probably the only friends I had. So that it's just showing me that I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, but I know victims is not only the person that happened to. Is victims is the community, all the friends, their moms, me, my kids, like it branches out further than I knew. And when I made that choice, I didn't think about that even being a possibility. In my mind, it was just, we were just chilling on the weekend, having a good time, to be honest. In my mind, that's all. I've never been through nothing like that before. That was the first time I experienced anything like that. And so I didn't, it wasn't, and nothing was intentional again. That's why I said I'm sorry, and I understand why everybody would be mad, and I get it, and I take full accountability. But I didn't mean any harm. I did not mean for that to happen. I wish I could take it back.
Let's just back up here for a second.
All right.
You said you understand why everybody be mad, right? Nobody's mad. Everybody is incredibly hurt, right?
Right.
Because the 3 people that were in the back of that other car are no longer here.
No, I understand.
Incredibly hurt. Nobody's mad. Everybody's incredibly hurt.
No, I understand that, but another thing that I learned,
when you take a, it'll always be a child. To your mom, you're always a child. When you take a mom's kids away, that's a rough thing.
no,
You can't give that back, right?
Yes, sir. I understand I have 2 kids of my own. And when I said mad, it's just because I learned in jail with therapy that anger is a secondary emotion, and it comes from either being sad or hurt. And nobody's just mad. You have to, it's other feelings first that come before that. So I understand, that's what I'm saying. That's the only reason why I said mad. So I didn't mean to offend anybody.
I appreciate that depth of understanding, because that's what's going on.
Yeah, I understand. I was hurt too. I was mad at myself. I was hurt too. I didn't have any issues with anybody in that car at all. Those were my friends. I would not have been with them if they weren't my friends. So.
I get that. I get that. But it's like the consequences for the actions that you took that day, right? And I mean,
Yes.
from my read on the whole thing, you know, first story was they never do that on Center Street. That you do it on 384 or the highway, right?
Yeah, when I said that,
That-
yeah, but
Yeah,
I didn't
go
say, when I said that, I'm talking about me. And that's the way
Yeah.
I was like that. I never did that with them before. That's the way I was driving around, to be honest with you. And that's what I was like, I was like known for driving like that. Like driving, that's what I was saying. Like, not like all the time, but yeah, I was known for driving like that.
when
On
it
the highway.
happened, when it happens, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and to be honest, the reason why I said that, for me to be completely honest, is that night that we spoke and we agreed to race on the highway, and then we didn't race on the highway. He got off the highway, and I got off the highway in East Hartford, and then he ended up calling somebody in my car and asked where they was at, and then they told him where we was at, and we was at McDonald's on Burnside, right on Burnside Avenue, right before Manchester. And then from Burnside Avenue is when it happened. But I didn't agree to the race there, but it still happened there. But I told him I would but it was just like horse playing, like that, but it just went too far. I never been through anything like that. Again, I'm sorry. It's really no excuse for nothing. I really don't know. You know what I mean? I just gotta be responsible and take accountability. I'm sorry, but when I said the highway thing, it's because we agreed to race on the highway, and then I ended up getting off the highway. He didn't get on the highway, and then I met him in East Hartford, and then it just went from there. Like without even the agreement from the highway, kind of went to East Hartford, like without like speaking about it again. So that's really how it transpired.
I hope you're in a place where you know that driving like that is crazy.
I understand that.
Period.
Yeah, I know. After that, I never drove like that again. After that day, I was still home, but I never drove. I'm just being honest. I was still home. I didn't drive like that again. I was terrified from that day. I never seen nothing like that, and I lost a lot of people growing up, but I never lost a female, and it was a female loss in that situation, and it really touched me. Everything touched me, but it was like I'm not used to having this go to a woman's funeral. You know what I'm saying? That's younger than me. So it was just, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry, I can't.
All right. So let's just move on. Besides voices, you took tier 2.
Yes, sir.
And what did you learn in there that's relative to you?
I just learned how an addict is somebody that's addicted to something that doesn't have to be drugs. Like how I was addicted to like driving fast, and like that lifestyle was addicted. And I also took it because I wanted to get involved with CCAR and take my CCAR so it could be part of my reentry plan the day that I was given a shot back into the community. But I wasn't able to go to CCAR because my drug score wasn't high. But I learned that addicts is not only with drugs, it's sex addicts, gambling habits, and addictive lifestyles.
You took the hospitality program?
Yes, sir.
And so did that broaden your background at all? I know that you worked at Taylor for a while. And it's kind of an offshoot in the hospitality industry because it's all set up for party stuff, weddings and things like that. But how did hospitality play in there? And I know that you are looking at going back to Taylor, but do you have any other aspirations or any other things that you want to do?
To be honest, while I was going to Taylor Reynolds, I was planning to get my CDLs. You are trapped while I was working and work driving trucks. And but the reason why I didn't do it in the past is because I didn't have my high school diploma, and I tried to. I went to Nets. I was enrolled in Nets probably for like a month, and I kept trying to like find the easy way out and take shortcuts. But they end up kicking me out the program because I didn't have proof that I graduated. So now I got proof that I graduated. So I as soon as because I didn't graduate, I was lying. So
And
now
congratulations on getting the GED.
I appreciate that.
So that's a good thing. You have outside clearance, which means that you're trusted by DOC. What are you doing outside? Is that the janitor job that's up front, or is there more to that?
It's the front lobby in the visiting room, sir. I just that's why I was here already when you they just told me that I'm going first, but cause I clean the visiting room and I clean the front lobby where everybody comes in at, like where the metal detectors and everything is.
Yeah.
It's like right there.
That's how you have outside clearance.
Yeah, cause you gotta be able to have cause I could walk up the door and because the doors. Yeah, I wouldn't, but I'm saying it's right there.
Talk to me about where you want to sponsor to.
I want to sponsor to Vernon.
And who is that?
It's a friend of the family.
That's just a straight out friend to the family.
She's somebody that been here for me my whole time being incarcerated, and somebody I've been building with through me being in jail. She come visits me often and stuff like that.
Okay, so is that just a friend or is that someone else?
And you could say she's my girlfriend. She's my girlfriend. You could say she's my girlfriend.
Okay, and then what else when it comes to children, things like that? What are you trying to do when you get out?
With my children?
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up on lost times. I haven't seen my daughter since she was 11. She's 13 now. And I haven't seen my son since he was 13, and he's 15. He turns 15 in 2 days.
I'm going to see what other questions other board members might have. But thanks for speaking with me this morning.
So, Mr. Douglas, why'd you have the gun?
I had the gun because I thought I was being a man. I thought that men handle their problems and men are never scared. That's why I had the gun. The day that the car accident happened, I was terrified. I was scared. And after the car accident happened and the truth came to light, a lot of people were mad at me. So I made a lot of enemies. So I don't know if you know, but I was shot at in front of my home. So from that, after that happened is when, because the people that shot at me, they had ended up going to jail for a year, and then they came home. And then after that, I didn't want to get shot at again, so I carried a gun to I know so I'm gonna be honest. So I carried a gun after I got shot at again. Cause I didn't want to be feeling terrified.
Mr. Douglas, where did you get the gun?
I got the gun from a family member, from a close family member, somebody that I grew up with that I consider family. Cause I was to be honest, I did security in the past, and I was in the process of getting my my gun permit. And all I had to do was do the fingerprints at the police department. But when I caught the case with the car accident, that held me up and I wasn't able to do it. So I took everything.
So Mr. Douglas, where did you learn to handle and discharge and clean and store this firearm?
I took the classes to get the gun permit. I went to the range.
With the gun that you bought off a family member?
No, it was somebody close to me that I considered family. And I didn't buy it. I was just given it. He gave it to me. So.
And you took that gun to the range and practiced with it?
No, I didn't. It was another gun that the instructor had when I went to take the class. It was a 20.
And you know that every gun handles differently and has different recoil and different ways of loading and unloading the firearm. So you were in possession of a gun you thought you could protect yourself with, and you had no experience using this firearm.
Not that firearm, but I had experience.
So that puts the public in great danger. So what we're trying to do here today, Mr. Douglas, is determine whether it's appropriate for you to finish the 4 years you have to serve out in the community on discretionary parole before you begin your 5 years of probation. And we have to make that decision in light of the interests of public safety.
I understand.
And, you know, the deck is stacked against you in terms of your crimes. Very serious offenses that you were engaged in. And I haven't even touched on your tampering with a witness situation with your brother, which is equally concerning. So I want to acknowledge that you haven't gotten any DRs, so you're coping well there in the facility, and that's why you've been able to take the programs, why you've been put in the reintegration unit. So all of that's really positive. You said in your interview, or perhaps it was in your letter, that you have forgiven yourself for the loss of 3 lives, friends of yours. What was that process? What did you go through to get to a place of self-forgiveness for such a serious situation?
I had to go through therapy. I had to talk to a therapist regularly. I was having dreams about the victims and stuff like that. And I just was mad at myself for letting them down and letting my family down. So I had to talk to a therapist all the time. So but
there was a process by which you reconciled yourself to the responsibility for the loss of life. I'm just wondering how that became that you forgave or absolved yourself of the crime.
You said, I'm sorry, what was that?
How did you actually forgive yourself in this process?
To be honest, I really didn't forgive myself. I just don't beat myself up. Like, I just know that I'm a human and I make mistakes, and I made a mistake, or the wrong choice. I wouldn't even call it a mistake. I made the wrong choice. So, and I just gotta live with it. And there's nothing I could do to go around it. So I didn't even forgive myself.
Have you found some peace?
A little bit. I tried to.
So when you were interviewed by the parole officer, you said you couldn't think of any high risks that you would face upon returning to the community. And yet, you know, we're hearing about the risks that you were facing after being involved in the death of many of your friends. So I'm going to ask you if you've given that any additional thought and can appreciate any risks that you might be faced with.
I didn't really understand the question when she asked me. So you said that, because when she said high risk, I thought she meant like it's something that I would have to worry about with myself. Like you saying, high risk, like
That
somebody
would
else.
bring you back to prison.
I'm going to stay out of trouble. I'm just going to go to work and just go home. That's my plan. I don't plan on being in the streets or being around anybody that's doing anything that's.
Are you hearing about people who are still angry with you?
I don't communicate with nobody like that. So I don't know anything about anybody that's still angry with me or nothing like that. I don't do that. I try to move forward and just make everything count and make everything positive. So I'm not sure about anybody still being mad at anything like that. I try to like stay away from negative energy.
Do you know that you have the state's deadly weapon offender registry obligation as part of your sentence?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. Do you understand as a convicted felon, you are prohibited for the rest of your life from possessing firearms and ammunition?
Yes, I understand that.
So, so you don't want to go home to Alice. She's the mother of your children?
Yes, she is.
Okay. And at the time of the crash in 2017, you were with Danae. I'm probably getting her name wrong.
Dejanay.
Dejanay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that relationship has ended?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now you want to go live with your girlfriend. We know she's your girlfriend because when the parole officer reached out to confirm her as a sponsor, she told us that.
Okay. Yeah, she is. I don't know. I just thought that
You're going to hide the truth from other people to keep down the drama?
yeah, I didn't really want anything going back to her house. Oh, I didn't even want to say that I was going there on the thing, and I don't know who watching, to be honest. I don't want any of my problems to be somebody else's problems.
Well, I would have been encouraged in your reentry plan if I had read that you wanted to go to a halfway house and really get your life in order and your employment situated and that kind of, adulting that we all have to do as we grow up and have responsibilities. Certainly as a father of two children, you have those. I might want to give that some additional thought, especially, have you, with Jennifer, have you dated before?
Yeah, I didn't meet her in a job. Yeah, I dated her.
Okay.
I've been dating her.
So you know each other a little better than
I know her. Yeah, I know her well. I've been dating her for 4, maybe 5 years now.
You're very fortunate that she stood by you.
Yeah.
In your letter, you referred to having a new value system. Do you remember writing about that?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me what your values are.
My values is to just be a real man and be there for my family and people who love me and people that I love and to make better decisions. And to just to help my people and like I don't have no value to be in the streets or I don't have no value for violence or anything. I just don't want to take no part in it at all no more. I don't want nothing to do. I just want to live and be happy. That's where I'm at with it. I don't want to be into nothing else. I don't have time no more.
I would suggest that, one of your values could be living your life with honor and integrity, honesty, treat people with fairness and respect. So you mentioned in your letter that you want to give back to your community. What ways have you identified giving back? I read about the barber shop, and it's one thing to give book bags to kids at the beginning of the school year. What else does your giving back look like?
Just letting them know everything that comes with living the lifestyle that I was living, and how
are you going to give back to your community for the harm that you've caused?
I was going to volunteer at the soup kitchens and do book bag giveaways and talk to kids and coach them and let them know everything that goes with the way that they let them know that the way they living is not the way to live. And because, like I said, I grew up without a father. My father died when I was 11 months. So it's a lot that I had to learn on my own that my mother couldn't show me as a man. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm there for people that is going through the same thing I went through. And I want to make sure I'm there for my son, even and my daughter as well. Because I even thought about how my absence is like.
So you did say part of your values is being there for your family, which would include your children.
Yes,
You've been tutoring there in the facility?
Yeah, I go to the school wing. English is the second language. And then when I graduated, at first I was a clerk in the school, and then they gave me a chairman job. But I still go down to the school every day after work, and I still help out. I help people work towards getting a GED. And I Mr. Sanferi's class, and I go to Miss Bannon class, and I help people over there too.
That's a great way to get back to your community as well. You know, volunteering in adult ed or some of the ESL programs in the state. You could continue that work because it's more, you know, something in an ongoing way of giving back as opposed to book bags in September as kids are going back to school. So just encourage you to think more expansively about how you can make amends to your community for all the harm that you caused when you were out there before. Do you have a valid driver's license?
Yes, ma'am. I paid my restoration fee and all the fees last year, and my license is valid.
Don't drive uninsured.
No, not at all.
I'm saying, you know, you're somebody who likes to exceed the speed limit and has driven recklessly in the past with severe consequences. And so your insurance rates are going to be very high, and you need to find a way to cover that if you're going to be behind the wheel of a vehicle.
Yeah, you're right. Right now, I won't even be able to, whenever I'm released, I won't be able to drive my vehicle anyway because I owe car taxes from being in jail, and my registration had expired. So I won't be able to re-register my car until I figure out how to pay the car taxes. And it's like over $1,000.
So you still have, what was it, a Mercedes?
No, I don't have that anymore.
And where is Taylor Rentals located?
It's on Broad Street in Manchester.
Thank you for talking with me, Mr. Douglas. Ms. Sapo-Satsu?
Good morning, Mr. Douglas.
Yeah.
The one thing that I just wanted to cover was the fact that we received a lot of the reports from your period of incarceration. And it did note that as part of the getting ready for today, you had to have a mental health evaluation. And the report does indicate that you weren't quite sure why you had to do that and that you appeared irritable during the interview. Considering the traumatic incidents that you've gone through and some of the mentions that we've seen about your nightmares and the depression associated with the loss of your friends, I was just curious as to why the mental health piece was so difficult for you. It would seem to me that you would embrace it and have it as part of your recovery moving forward, and maybe even continuing it out in the community in order to stay in a good frame of mind.
The reason why I was irritated with that is because, and I'm in here is like, you can't really like have no, you're not supposed to like show any weaknesses. And when they called me on the block is when they called and said for mental health, and then I didn't want. So I like when I came here, I tried to hide that from like everybody. I didn't want anybody to know, because it's not like I was you could say I was embarrassed, I guess you could say, but it's not like I was ashamed of it. I just wanted to know if I did what I had to do in the other job, then why when I come here and I haven't been seeing them, why would you call me down? Because I wasn't the parole, my IPO didn't tell me that I was going to do that. I didn't even know, so it just surprised me. So I just was a little irritated because I didn't want nobody to know that that's what I was doing. So I was kind of embarrassed, to be honest, because I didn't want nobody saying this is jail. So I didn't really want nobody saying anything about me and stuff like that. So because I was just embarrassed, to be honest. That's the only reason why. Other than I just wanted to know why they did that out of nowhere. And because I did everything I had to do when I was in Gardner. That's when it comes to that part. And then when I came here, I was trying to like basically hide it, to be honest, from other inmates, not from myself. Or that's the reason why.
Well, I guess my only point is that, I think there's probably a lot of people where you are that have had some level of trauma, and that mental health is not something to be embarrassed about, because honestly, as you come out, you're going to need all the tools that you can in order to co-parent with Alice. You're going to need to obviously find money right away in order to restore your car and have transportation, get a job. There's going to be a lot of stressors. And I would just encourage you to understand that all of that can be handled by speaking with your parole officer on probation and understanding what resources are available to you, because you don't want to go back into the cycle of this again because of stress.
I understand.
We did receive several letters, including letters from your daughter and your son, saying that they're anxious to have you come home. And again, those are a lot of expectations. And so what we look for in suitability is ensuring that someone can manage those expectations, the job, the money, the relationships, the kids. And I did look at your reentry plan, and it seems like it's reasonable and it's realistic. And I would encourage you to make sure that that's a document that you stick to, and it's not just something that you're prepared for us to look at, because I think reentry is going to be really important, especially since you have so many things going on. So
the
thank you.
I just want to say the CELs is something I was trying to do before I came to jail, and that's something I really want to do because I like to travel, and I don't like being stuck in a warehouse. That's the reason why I work at Teller Rentals, because I like to be on the road and we go different. We always outside. So I was really trying to do that, but the reason why I couldn't is just because I didn't have my diploma. And now that I got my diploma, then now I could go get financial aid and be able to go to the next and complete it and start a new career whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Well, I think, Mr. Douglas, one of the things that I will say to you about risks are you're also at risk of taking things too fast. So I commend you for getting your GED. That's going to open a lot of doors for you. And I hope that you realize that, trying to work around the CDL company the first time when you didn't have it was exhausting. It's a lot of work to lie and not be truthful. Whereas you put the work in and you got your GED. So what's the next step? The next step would be making sure your license is in order, that you're eligible to go back and finish that CDL, get a job. All of these are points along a timeline that if you take things and take the opportunity to do that, you're going to be successful. It's when you allow all these other things to intersect with you, it makes life complicated. And sometimes having someone to talk to, whether it's family or mental health personnel or your parole officer, you just need to know that there's opportunities if you start to feel overwhelmed, and that affects you in the community. So that's all we're trying to say, is to make sure you have everything set up for yourself when you come out.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Douglas, we often hear from individuals such as yourself who've been part of that reintegration unit, and one of their biggest takeaways is that they've learned to ask for help. And they understand that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, but it takes a lot of strength to admit you need help and to understand that you don't have to go it alone.
Right.
Is that something that has been touched upon in your time in the unit?
Yes, ma'am.
Something to keep in mind. At this point in the hearing, we're going to turn it over to the Office of Victim Services. Again, Mr. Douglas, you are not to speak. Ms. Hamlet-Williams?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, panel. I do have the mother of victim number 1 who would like to address you today. She's on via Teams, and via speakerphone, I have the mother and the cousin who will be acting as the family spokesperson for victim number 3. And we will begin with the mother of victim number 1, who is on with us via Teams. You may unmute and address the panel.
Is that me?
Yes.
Hi, good morning. Wow. I prayed about this before I got on. I don't know. I listened to you, and you used the word friends and accountability, and neither of them apply. You forgot the part that you picked my son up. You know, it's one thing, it's a tragic, but all I have is a memory of my son at the door, and I told him that night, I'm gonna give you a curfew. I wish I would have done that night. And to look out the window and you keep lying. You picked my son up. I didn't know that was you. All I know is it was this fancy car. But you grabbed my son. You picked my son up. I believe you picked the other victim up. You didn't bring him back. I always tell my child, everybody that knew that, my son friends knew that I didn't want my son in nobody's car. I don't care. His mother had one walk everywhere. I don't know how you influenced him. I don't know how you did it. I don't know it was him. I don't know what. But I know that you have not admitted to that. You picked him up. And the other part that gets me, I'm a forgiving person. Lord knows I am. I just can't forgive you. You came to my house. You came to my house the next day, every day, up until every day you came there, you was around us while we grieved. You played this friend. You embraced us. You was around, but you was only around to cover up what you did. You was only around to see what we knew, and we didn't know anything. All we thought that was that my son had died in a car accident with a pole. I didn't understand how he got in a car with these people when he got in a car with you, and I didn't understand it. And I don't know how long it went on, these lies and how you did it, the covering up. All I remember is this one day being at the graveyard, and one of the girls, the witness that you tampered with, I believe, I was just talking to her. And I thank God for her. I thank God for speaking to her. I thank God for her going to do what she did to bring light to the situation. You probably could have saved their lives. The report was a car with a pole, not 2 cars. You stood there as a bystander. You stood there as a bystander. You went around for months. Your family taunted me, said I harassed y'all because of how y'all looked at me. You didn't say anything. You came around. You, out of all the people, you came around and you were in my house. I can't forgive you for that. You could have told me. You could have said something to me. I was not like that. I embraced everybody. No one ever came to my house. Nobody asked me about my son. I had to watch the news and see that you guys identified his friends, identified my child, not me. Not me. No, you know when they came to my house? You know when they came to my house to even tell me that my son was gone? When they came for dental records. That's the only knock I got on my door was for dental records of my son. I'm shaking. And you sit here and you say you take accountability. I got a letter from the guy that was driving the car, the young man, that I did forgive. I don't know if you know that, but I did forgive him. You know why? And he told me how you thanked him for not telling on you. If you cared and those were your friends, you would have told the truth from the beginning. You would have told the truth. You walk around and you didn't even care. You was only around to find out what I know, what we known, and all you found out that we loved. No matter what, we loved. We loved you when you was there. We loved every last one of y'all that came around and pretended to care. And all y'all cared about was yourself. I made mistakes in my life, but I owned up to them. That was one of my best friends. And everybody knew that. And mental health, yes, take heed to it. Because I deal with it every day. I work in the field and I deal with it daily. I deal with it daily to deal with this. You took away one of my best friends. You took away one of my kids' best friends. You broke a family. You broke a family. And you do, you know. You said you miss your daughter. I miss my son. It's been 7 years. You got one to go home to. A year left in jail, and you want to come home? Look how long you fought to not be there. Look how long you fought to not be accountable. Look how you sit right here and still are not holding accountability to what you did. How dare you say you don't need help? You need help. You need help. You have no empathy. You have no empathy. I welcomed you in my house. I don't know. I prayed. I want so bad, Lord knows, to forgive you. But the fact that you sit here and still lie, the fact that you won't even say that you picked my son up, I'm going to end this. I'm going to end this, and nothing is not going to bring them back. But you know what happened. You know what happened. So when all these girls you juggle around, the one in the car with your girlfriend too, that's the problem. They was hiding your secrets. But at the end of the day, we wake up every day without our kids and live through it every day. And I had to live through that. I had 7 kids. Do you know how hard it is not to cry around my children? Do you know how hard it is for me to be strong? I got twin babies, 8 that don't even remember that. But you know what? If you talk to them, they act like they know their brother because I keep the memory up. I show love. I don't sit around crying. But you brought tears to my eyes. I thought I was gonna come here and you was gonna really be accountable. You was really gonna take accountability, but you were never my son friend. You weren't none of their friends, because if you was, you would have brought them home. The ones that was in that car was the ones you picked up. Tell the truth. Thank you. Done.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for your statement. And now we'll hear from victim number 3's family. One moment.
That will be me, correct?
Yes, you may unmute.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I am here on behalf of the Mickens and Holmes family. And I thought this was going to be easy. But we deal with grief every day. Every day. We deal with it. It's not easy. It is not easy. And now we have Mickens' son, who's 8.5 years old, said about his mother. He said, and I quote, "I didn't know how to feel at first because I didn't get a chance to know her." He said, "But now I feel very sad. I don't know my mother." He's 8.5 years old, and he has to live with this every single day. And it's not fair. You get to go home to your kids, and he will never, ever get to see or know his mother. He was robbed. We all were. This is something, a statement from his Benaria's aunt. She said Jeremiah is without a mother. The only thing he has is memories. And she said it hurts because he never got to know her. And this is from me. May 2027 was an awful day. I learned of Benaria's passing And it was hard to swallow, a hard pill to swallow. Because a month prior, I had lost my mother. So the grief is there. It doesn't go anywhere. And you feel that you should be allowed to re-enter and you got off as far as your time. You only got a few years for 3 bodies. 3 of them. I'm not ready to forgive you yet. You know why? Because I don't feel you really are showing remorse. And like Keisha said, you're selfish. The only thing you were thinking about was you. The whole time, it was you. You didn't think about what it was going to do to everyone else. It was just about you. I don't care that you want to go home to your kids. At least shit. But now he's never coming back. And you say in your statement today, as you fumbled and stumbled over words, that these are your friends. How could you treat your friends like this? You left them. You did nothing to try to help them. And you think you're qualified to help other people's children or other people in society? You are not. You have no remorse. Today was the first time, and I was at the sentencing, that I heard you say, oh, well, I'm sorry about what happened. What happened was you were negligent, irresponsible, and 3 people were killed, burnt to death because of you. And then you tried to conceal and hide it. And you played in everyone's face like you was their friend, and you were there for one purpose only, to see what they knew. That's what you did. You manipulated folks into thinking that you were something that you're not. You're still the same monster. The same monster. And know that we're not angry with you. We are still experiencing grief. And it's been over 7 years. And I think you got up because you only got a few years for the death, and that you should do every single day that they gave you. And you're supposed to be good in jail. You're supposed to be good out here, but you weren't. And you chalk it up as, I was looking to have a good time. How do you have a good time and it results in 3 people that you call your friends death? That's final. Thank you very much for hearing me, the board committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You made. Thank you, Tana.
Thank you, Ms. Hamlet-Williams. We appreciate very much the victim input. So at this point,
Lisa, I would like to speak.
Oh, you would? Okay.
I would like to speak.
Okay.
And I just want to say the things that I heard after my daughter's death. I heard they left the scene because Gustin wanted to go push his weed up. I heard Jayla was on parole and he wasn't supposed to be in the car, so they left them kids to burn the way that they did. And he keeps saying, oh, I want to be home for my son and my daughter. I am raising my grandson. Okay, 8 years old, he'll be 9 next month. That's not going to never see his mom again, okay? But I tell him all the goodness in Benaria, okay? And I don't feel that he's being raped. He's lying, he's confused, and I think he needs to do the rest of his time because it's not fair. And God knows it's not fair that he come out here and be for his kids when my grandson will never see his mother again. We have to live with this every day, okay? They was racing. He bumped that car. He spun that car out of control, okay? He did it. He came to my house. He hugged me. He said we wasn't racing, okay? And then turned around, they was racing, okay? Not knowing the money that you owed her, that's another story. But I just feel that he needs to do the rest of his time. And maybe it's not my decision, but that's what I feel in my heart, okay? And I will never forgive him either. And God wants us to forgive everybody because he forgave us. But that's not my first loss. I lost my son at 19, okay? And I was dealing with that. And then to lose my daughter, I said, Lord, what now? But I feel he needs to sit there. He needs to think about life. And if he was so sincere, he wouldn't have been so confused as when y'all was asking him those questions. Okay? So I just want to say God bless y'all, okay? And thank y'all so much. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I love you, Sherry.
I love you too, Keisha.
Ladies, now.
All right. So, Mr. Douglas, please give us just a few minutes and don't interrupt. Mr. Pohl?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, so where I am today here is when it comes to Mr. Douglas, in terms of any kind of significant criminal history prior to this, there is not anything significant. You know, he talked about taking tier 2. He talked about racing, that adrenaline piece that he connected with there. You know, but in talking with him about that, you know, what showed and what's there is the speed was very different than what was said. So he's looking for, you know, offender change in terms of accountability and such, and that they can get through program. And he, you know, it's like the accountability is say what you're doing. You know, it's like part of this is, you know, taking accountability for what you did.
And where I, you know, relate to that comment of yours is language. You know, I always go back to language. And, you know, when he was interviewed by the parole officer, he said the driving thing was an accident that happened. It was never intentional. And, you know, part of being an adult, and he was 24, is 23, is being able to anticipate consequences of your actions and the choices that you make. And he also said he's sorry for everything that happened that night. And the language still is distancing from actually being responsible for creating the situation that cost 3 people their lives. And then, you know, wants credit for staying at the scene. It's just a little hard for me.
The report at the scene was that he was dazed.
Yeah. Which,
or in shock. And,
yeah, understandable.
you know, 3 people in the back of the car that
You're watching them burn to death.
you know, you know, do I believe that he set off that day to do that? No, I you know, I don't believe that he set off that day to cause that accident and to cause 3 deaths. But, you know, regardless of our intentions to begin with, you know, it's accountability for what happened, you know. Yeah, so he did talk about, you know, being able to be inside and not getting any disciplinary reports, and that was certainly important to hear. When it comes to his engagement with voices, I would have, you know, I heard what he said. However, you know, sitting in a course for that long, sitting in a program for that long, with this much of a tragedy that had happened, you know, I really think that that could have gone deeper, and in terms of accountability and, you know, in terms of just seeing, you know, change here, because there's an element of this, where there was this, let's not talk about what really happened, let's not tell the police what really happened. And that's, you know, that's a piece of it, but that's something that can change through incarceration and through taking programs like he did. I don't know how far we've come, you know.
I share that concern.
You know, in terms of his release plan, he does have employment that he can go back to. He does have a sponsor. You know, to his credit, he got his GED while he was in, and that will help him. You know, I don't know if he goes out now and at the sentence, if he's able to actually go in and get, he might be able to go in and get his CDL, but is he even able to execute on that when it comes to a job because of the reckless driving and the illegal racing? You know, does somebody touch him there? And that's why I explored a little bit further the hospitality piece that he took, that he completed, and how that dovetails into what he was doing at Taylor Rental. I just, you know, I'm, you know, Mr. Douglas is eligible for parole. You know, and when somebody is sentenced, they're not sentenced to do every single day of what they're sentenced to. They're sentenced, and parole is part of that, right? So this is not a retribution type of thing where he got this, he's got to do every single day. And a lot of people, when it comes to victims in the courtroom, and such an emotional, you know, with the loss of 3 people here.
Young people.
Yeah, they hear certain things, but, you know, he is eligible for parole, and which he's before us here today. I just don't see the extent of offender change that I'd like to see. You know, that's where I need to.
Exactly, Sassy.
I agree with Mr. Paul. I think the words were said, but I think there needs to be some more work done on the impact of the words and understanding the impact to him. And I want him to be successful because I think he's starting to put the pieces in place to be successful in the community. And I don't want him to go out unprepared, which at this point, and my take is from the mental health standpoint, I'm not sure he's gone through and dealt with some of this. He was also a very young parent, and there's all kinds of layers that I think could benefit from some additional introspection.
So I have nature and circumstance, injury and impact, and inadequate evidence of offender change.
Good.
Anything to add? Okay. So in the matter of Gustin Douglas Sr., inmate number 425721, there is a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstances of your crimes, the injury and impact caused to the victims and the victim's family, and inadequate evidence of offender change. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Parole is denied.
This concludes the hearing for Mr. Gustin Douglas, inmate number 425721.
So it's just over. There's no coming back.
No coming back. Hope you'll use the remaining time on your sentence to continue to prepare yourself to be successful when you're back in the community. And don't forget the deadly weapon offender registry while you're on probation. We wish you much success, sir.
Guys, can I say something to one of the victims? Is that all right?
No,
Before I go?
no, the hearing is over. You need to leave the room.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, go get out, go do your time. No
Parole for tape.
This is, there's something interesting about these type of cases. We see it all the time. It's like the DUI, vehicular manslaughter. We've covered another drag racing case out of Connecticut, and there's something that they have in common, and it is this lack of empathy. We see it on the news and the dash cam videos when a woman goes and kills a couple in a DUI and then just shows no empathy. And it's so important to see this, to realize that it's not just someone making a mistake. It's not just someone, doing something wrong that they end up in. For some reason, they all have this thing in common where they feel like they're the victim, where they just have no ability to empathize with the damage that they cause. It's uncanny how we see this time and time again. But what I can never get used to is how the DAs and the judges and the in this case, they just seem to completely blow it. Let me share with you. Thank you, Holly, for putting this together, because when you read through the court docs, it makes no sense. Look at this. Look, maximum sentence 4 years. That's at the top. Then we have here, this is the 2017 offense date, arrested on 5/4/2018, a year later. And he only gets reckless endangerment, right? Here, let me show you here. 5/4/2018, 30 days jail for reckless endangerment, count 1. Count 2, illegal racing on a highway, 6 months. Then we have the case where he has the illegal possession of a weapon without a permit, witness tampering, right? They get him on 9 years for that, but suspended after 3. And this goes to the home invasion case. It's just this it doesn't make any sense. Look. Manchester man charged with kidnapping, tampering, and this is 9/13/2022. State's attorney announced the arrest of a Manchester man charged with conspiring with his brother to intimidate a witness in a criminal case. And I'm guessing again that they were trying to figure out how to get him on this drag racing homicide case, and people weren't coming forward. But then imagine as a prosecution to be given a charge on a golden platter and still only giving a 4-year sentence after this happening. After a thorough investigations, inspectors from the Tulane State's Attorney Office in September 12th arrested and charged him with kidnapping in the first degree with the firearm, 2 counts of tampering with the witness, conspiracy to tamper with the witness, and conspiracy to violate a protective order in connection with the incidents in Vernon. Court records show that Douglas conspired with his brother, who has a home invasion charge pending in the Tulane case, to intimidate a witness to recanting their statement. State's attorney indicated that threats and intimidation of a witness will not be tolerated and investigated to the fullest of the law. You two-face. I mean, from what I understand, and it's confusing. It's confusing as hell because the way that it's all wrapped around. Remember, this parole hearing, they focused on the car crash, not on the witness tampering. Yet he only got like 30 days for the car, and he gets the 4 years for the witness tampering. But it's all these years later. The crash happens in 2017. They make arrests in 2018. And they don't actually get him until this, like, kidnapping charge. Of course, this vehicle had no insurance, no registration, because they always don't have insurance or registration. It's just confusing. Again, imagine if you're trying to convict someone, but there's uncertainty and unclarity because you can't get you can't get witnesses. And then this person who you've been trying to convict for all these years uses a gun to kidnap someone in witness tampering. You make the statement like you're such a brave, strong DA that's protecting the community, and then you give him 4 years with parole eligibility after 2. It's just nuts. You want to talk, you just don't care. You simply don't care. And then you add insult to injury. They allow him to apply for a CDL license? Are you kidding me? What? You know, I don't know if you caught that, but he initially lies to the program. He tells the CDL program in prison that he has a high school diploma. Then they find out that he's lying, so now he can't take the CDL license. Then he gets his GED, and then his plan is to get a CDL license. And what does the parole board member focus on? What was her name? I think it's Turner. There was Turner, there was Paul, and there was Zapozasu. Yeah, it's Turner. And even Paul said this is crazy. Paul, I don't know if he's ever used this is crazy once. He's heard the craziest parole hearings. All the years we've seen him, he's the most like head in the clouds parole board member, and he said this is crazy. But what does Turner focus on? She focuses on, do you know how to use your weapon? You had a gun and you didn't. And I've been waiting for this to happen for years because she does this every time with the gun thing, and it just drives me nuts. But I've been waiting. Someone's going to come and say, well, yeah, I was an MP. You know, I actually have trained. So he goes, well, yeah, I was taking the class. I do know how to shot a gun. And she's like, well, every gun is different. You could have hurt more people. And it's like, shut up. He just told you he's going to get a CDL license. He's going to be driving a, what is it? Like a 40, 50, 60,000 pound bullet. Why didn't you talk about that? Probably more. Probably depending on what you're carrying, it could be hundreds of thousands of pounds. It's oh God. Hopefully, I've been told a CDL license company, like the companies will never hire him. So like at least we'll have that because he won't be insurable. Like there's no company will hire him. But the idea that it's not brought up just makes me, it's just confusing. And so but you hear from the families, they leave mic drops, they lay down the facts. You hear the raw emotion, and you also hear the case about the community justice that was looking to be sought out, where someone shot at him. And I guess, and that's probably why you don't want to stay where he was going to be living. I don't blame him for that. But yeah, the 2 people who were arrested involved with the shooting, he said they got out after 1 year. So at least they didn't get the books thrown at them because, of course, police detained in New Britain for Tuesday for allegedly their roles in a recent shooting. Police believe the shooting to be connected with a triple fatal car crash in May 2017. The shooting Saturday in Manchester had at least 1 shot fired at the targeted victim who wasn't injured. Police said they believe they targeted 24 in retaliation for a crash killed 3 people. He's being held in Seltzer. So this happened in 2018, a year after that. And yeah, it's nice to see the police only locked him up for a year, but also it kind of paints a picture of what's going on in these cities in Connecticut. And it's funny, you only get 1 year. You get 4 years legislation would allow 4 years just for carrying an illegal weapon without a license, then you have attempted murder. So what's confusing about this case again is it seems that he wasn't the one who was in the car with the 3 people who died, who were burned to death in the back. It seems that he was racing them, but also it seems that maybe no one really knows who was driving the car. That's where it's not clear to me, and there's no clarity at all. I think that part of the cover up was that he was claiming he wasn't even there, and I don't know. It's confusing to me. The whole thing is confusing, and again, if you want to say, okay, well, that's confusing for the DA, and they didn't know what they can get him on, and da da da. That all goes away when you have all these charges that they then got him on. Witness tampering. I mean, they could have thrown the book at him, and they just didn't. And I find that to be inexcusable. But maybe, I don't know. This case just hit different. It hit different. And thank you, Holly. Holly emailed me about this case before it aired, and she said, this is crazy, because when you look at it on paper, she said, this person killed 3 people and got just like 30 days. And then all these years later, does this kidnapping thing. So on paper, it just makes, and then when I watched the hearing, I was like looking at the research and just so confused, but I hope that I brought some clarity to it. And with that, I'll let you go.
So they left them kids to burn the way that they did. And he keeps saying, oh, I want to be home for my son and my daughter. I am raising my grandson. Okay, 8 years old, he'll be 9 next month. That's not going to never see his mom again.
And you got off as far as your time. You only got a few years for 3 bodies. 3 of them.
Picked him up. And the other part that gets me, I'm a forgiving person. Lord knows I am. I just can't forgive you. You came to my house. You came to my house. You embraced us. You was around, but you was only around to cover up what you did.